Iran has rejected diplomatic efforts to prevent an attack on Israel, as the region holds its breath and military forces are on maximum alert. Meanwhile, the United States Department has approved over $20 billion in sales of American-built weapons, ammunition, and equipment to Israel. This includes new F-15 warplanes, air-to-air missiles, tank rounds, rocket launchers, and tactical vehicles. Elsewhere, in the Gaza Strip, Hamas terrorists fired at the humanitarian corridor that is meant to bring food and medicine into the Gaza Strip into the city of Rafah, leading to its temporary closure. In related news, the Givati Brigade reportedly eliminated over 100 terrorists in Rafah over recent days. In Judea and Samaria, there are ongoing security operations, with one terrorist being eliminated in an exchange of fire with IDF troops near Jenin over the last 24 hours. Things are also tense on Israel's northern border, as a large barrage of rockets were fired into northern Israel from Lebanon overnight Tuesday, and an American special operations base in Syria was also attacked by Hezbollah, although the attack caused no damage or casualties. Let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report about what is happening in Israel on the 313th day of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and all of its terror proxies in Yemen, Iraq, and Syria. We start our report with the situation in the Gaza Strip. The IDF spokesperson announced on Tuesday that the terrorist organization Hamas fired at the area of the humanitarian corridor in the Rafah area in South Gaza. Travel and coordination in this corridor has been temporarily stopped since the area is an active combat zone. Terrorist activities in humanitarian areas and population concentrations harms humanitarian corridors and the distribution of aid to the residents of the Gaza Strip. Elsewhere in the Gaza Strip, soldiers from the Givati Brigade have been operating in the area of the Savora neighborhood in Rafah for the past several days under the command of Division 162. During the operation, the forces eliminated about 100 terrorists and captured large stocks of weapons, ammunition, intelligence materials, and underground bunkers used by Hamas to support their military efforts. In addition, the Air Force continued to strike on terror positions throughout the Gaza Strip. Some of the targets that were hit by the Air Force included launch sites for rockets, as well as positions that were set up to fire other weapons such as mortars and machine guns at IDF troops. Armed terrorists who were in the act of firing on IDF troops were also targeted. Despite their hopeless tactical positions, the terrorists of Hamas continue to try and fire into Israel, with 2 rockets being launched at the Tel Aviv metropolitan area on Tuesday evening. These were the first weapons to be fired at Tel Aviv for several months, but they both fell into the sea, causing a loud explosion that was heard all over the city, but otherwise causing no damage. Around the same time as these rockets were being fired at Tel Aviv, the IDF spokesman in Arabic, Avichai Adri, posted to his X account, "To those in blocks 45, 50, 219, 220 in the neighborhoods of Beni Sueli and El Mahata in the Gaza Strip, following continuous mortar fire by Hamas and the terrorist organizations in your area, the IDF will act strongly in the immediate time frame against them. For your safety, immediately evacuate to the humanitarian space." It is important to understand that Hamas is steadily being strangled by a combination of IDF raids on their positions all over the Gaza Strip and the cutting off of resupply routes throughout smuggling tunnels running under the Philadelphia corridor, which marks the border between Egypt and Gaza. The enormous stockpiles of ammunition that Hamas stored all over the Gaza Strip, including in bedrooms, schools, and other UN humanitarian buildings, is slowly running out. The IDF has captured quite a lot of this ammunition, and Hamas has also used up much of what they had at the beginning of this war. There is no more coming in, and so Hamas must be very careful not to waste anything. Some reports indicate that Hamas has begun trying to recover explosives from unexploded bombs and artillery shells that Israel has fired into the Strip over the recent months. This is a very dangerous process, which more often than not ends badly for the team sent to try and disassemble the bombs and recover the explosives. Hamas is also reported to be trying to recover ammunition from IDF vehicles that have been destroyed in the fighting, and even stealing ammunition from IDF supply depots. Hamas officials have tried to brag about the improvised explosive devices that they are able to build from this stolen ammunition. But experts have cast doubt on this, saying that these are acts of desperation that actually indicate a military force is close to the end of its ability to function. However, these experts also caution that the improvised explosive devices, while crude, are still very dangerous to IDF troops. Such crude weapons did great damage to US military forces in past conflicts such as the Vietnam War and the insurgency which followed the invasion of Iraq in 2003. So please be in prayer for the IDF troops who continue the difficult but necessary work of clearing out the remnants of Hamas in the Gaza Strip. A report this week by the IDF says that over 10,000 IDF troops who have been in Gaza since the war began have needed counseling and other therapy to cope with the post-traumatic stress that they suffered from. Our sponsor for today's video is one of the organizations which is raising support to help pay for trauma counseling in Israel. So let me tell you a little bit about them. The International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem has been comforting Israel and the Jewish people for over 40 years in the land of Israel. I've been personally blessed by this ministry, and I also love to see the work that they're doing in and for the city of Jerusalem and the people of Israel. The ICEJ was founded to send a message that Christians recognize Jerusalem as Israel's eternal capital. But that was just the beginning. Over the years, they've expanded their program to bless every segment of Israeli society and increase support for Israel while fighting against anti-Semitism around the globe. In this current crisis, they've organized donations of life-saving medical equipment to first responders, bomb shelters to communities under fire, assistance to internally displaced refugees, trauma counseling, and many other practical needs. The ICJ is a donor-supported ministry, and they need your support to continue and even expand this vitally life-saving work. So please visit www.impactisraeltoday.com to see how you can pray and support the work of ICJ in Israel. Now back to the news, as we shift our focus to evening on Israel's northern border. The IDF attacked Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon overnight Tuesday in the vicinity of Mount Dov. In addition, IDF forces attacked Hezbollah military structures in the Shechini and the Alma el-Shahab areas, alongside an anti-tank missile position in the Aita al-Shayb area. Meanwhile, the Air Force attacked 2 rocket launchers in the areas of Atiri and Zibkin in southern Lebanon as they were beginning to prepare to fire weapons into the Galilee in northern Israel. Several casualties among the Hezbollah fighters were reported in Lebanese media portals. In a very unusual development, there were also reports in the last 24 hours that Hezbollah has fired weapons at a base camp used by American Special Operations troops deployed in Syria as part of a mission to counter the Islamic State group. According to the reports, 4 Hezbollah rockets were fired at the base camp, but none of them impacted inside the perimeters, so there were no damage or casualties from this strike. With all that is going on in Israel and the surrounding countries, it's vital to stay informed in real time. That's why our team at TBN Israel is building a robust presence on several different social media platforms to bring you the latest developments as they happened. Go to all of your favorite social media platforms and do a search for TBN Israel. Then subscribe to us and stay informed to help us spread the truth. We cannot do this without you. Switching our focus once again to events in Judea and Samaria. In the last 24 hours, the IDF has been operating in the Kalkilia and Nablus area. A loud explosion was heard in Jenin after the security forces of the Palestinian Authority neutralized a powerful bomb intended to hit IDF troops, according to reports in Palestinian media portals. In related news, a car that contained explosives and was meant to be used in a terrorist attack against Israelis exploded prematurely in the Khalkhul area of the Hebron sector on Tuesday. Apparently, with the 2 terrorists still inside the vehicle. Please take an active part in supporting us so that we can continue to bring you up-to-date and detailed content about what is happening in Israel. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, and if you want to receive more videos like this one, please donate to us to the link that you see at the bottom of the screen, or go to our website at tbn.org/Israel. Switching our focus once again to international affairs, the Pentagon announced on Tuesday evening that Secretary of State Antony Blinken has given his approval for arms deal with Israel worth more than $20 billion. Most of this money is being used to pay for weapons and equipment that were already ordered by the IDF and have begun to be manufactured, but it will take years for most of it to be delivered. These are strategic assets including 50 new F-15 aircrafts and tactical ground vehicles that are designed to increase Israel's deterrence and ability to operate. They are not necessarily meant to be used in this current conflict. Nevertheless, this announcement sends a powerful message to all of Israel's neighbors, both allies and enemies, that America is committed to Israel's long-term security interests in the region. In addition to the F-15s, whose cost totals $18.8 billion and which will begin to be delivered in 2029, other items approved for transfer include 32,000 rounds of tank ammunition, 50,000 mortar rounds, and 30 AIM-120 AMRAAM air-to-air missiles. Some of the tactical vehicles and ammunition will begin to arrive in Israel already in 2026. New engines and radar systems for Israel's existing fleets of F-15 aircrafts are also reported to be part of the package, but there was no estimate reported for when they would begin to be delivered to the Jewish state. This package of weapons and ammunition is in addition to the $3.5 billion that the State Department announced at the end of last week would be made available to the IDF for the purchase of US-made equipment. The money is part of the $14 billion appropriated by Congress for Israel in a spending bill passed earlier this year, which is also included money to support Ukraine and Taiwan. All of this on top of Washington's own deployment of naval vessels, warplanes, and ground troops to the region in the past 2 weeks, which is meant to deter Iran from striking Israel and dealing with any attack that comes if deterrence fails. As previously reported, this includes the deployment to the eastern Mediterranean of USS Georgia, a missile submarine. The American media portal Newsweek published details of this submarine this week, including the fact that it is equipped with over 150 Tomahawk cruise missiles, which can be configured for attacking targets at sea or on land at ranges of 1,000 miles or 1,600 kilometers. This puts Iran in range if Georgia is deployed in the Gulf of Oman. The report added that the USS Florida, another submarine of the same class, already fired cruise missiles at Houthi positions in Yemen back in January. As a footnote, several media portals have reported in recent weeks that the US Navy has seen its most intense period of action over the last year since the Second World War. The tactical problems presented by the Houthis in Yemen and Iran's other proxies is similar to what the Navy expects to face in the Pacific in the event of a North Korean invasion of South Korea or a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. Some US Navy officers have said that this has allowed for systems, training, weapons, and equipment to be tested under realistic conditions that it would take many years and billions of dollars to evaluate in peacetime. This increases their readiness for the battles that they might fight soon in East Asia, and so it's a silver lining in what is otherwise a very difficult time for the American military and militaries at large. In conclusion, I would like to thank you for watching this video and ask you to please help us by sharing it on YouTube and following us on social media. But most importantly, please pray for the peace of Israel. Please pray for the IDF soldiers that are risking their lives every day. Please pray for all the civilians that are affected by this conflict. And please pray for wisdom for our leaders and the leaders of our allies. Please pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.